This video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Everyone's financial situation is different, so please consult with a qualified professional before making any investment decisions. Here's a terrifying statistic. Nearly 60% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency expense without going into debt. That's right. 3 out of 5 people are one blown transmission, one surprise medical bill, or one broken water heater away from financial disaster. But here's the thing most financial gurus won't tell you. Asking, "How much should I save?" without understanding your specific situation is asking the wrong question entirely. Your life circumstances, your job stability, your dependents, they determine everything. And there's a mathematical formula that tells you exactly how prepared you really are. It's called the emergency fund ratio, and by the end of this video, you'll know precisely where you stand and what you need to do about it. The formula, let's start with the formula that financial planners use but rarely share with regular people. It's called the emergency fund ratio, and it's dead simple. Take your total liquid assets, everything you can access quickly, like checking accounts, savings accounts, and money market funds, and divide it by your monthly mandatory expenses. That's it. Emergency fund ratio equals total liquid assets divided by monthly mandatory expenses. Here's a real example. Let's say you've managed to save $6,000 in your monthly mandatory expenses. Rent, groceries, insurance, utilities, the works come to $3,000. Your emergency fund ratio is 2.0. That means you've got exactly 2 months covered. On the flip side, if you only have $1,000 saved with that same $3,000 monthly burn rate, your ratio drops to 0.33. You can't even make it through a single month. The higher your ratio, the better prepared you are to handle whatever life throws at you. If you're targeting a 3-month emergency fund, you want a ratio of at least 3.0. Shooting for 6 months, you need a 6.0 ratio. This isn't just theory. This is the same liquidity analysis that Fortune 500 companies use to determine if they can weather financial storms. And if it works for billion-dollar corporations, it'll work for your household budget. 3-month rule. So who actually needs just 3 months of expenses saved? The 3-month rule applies if you're in a relatively stable situation. We're talking about single people with no dependents, stable jobs in secure industries, dual income households where both partners are working, and people with low debt loads. If you've got a financial safety net, whether that's family support, a partner's income, or a government job with incredible security, 3 months might be sufficient. Let's calculate a real example. Say you're single, earning $50,000 annually, which breaks down to about $4,167 per month before taxes. After taxes, you're taking home roughly $3,300. Your annual expenses are $35,000, which means you're spending about $2,917 per month. For a 3-month emergency fund, you'd need $2,917 multiplied by 3, which equals $8,751. Round that up to $9,000 to give yourself a small buffer. But here's the critical part. That's if you're truly low risk. If you're working in tech during mass layoffs, or you're in retail during an economic downturn, even as a single person with no kids, you might want to reconsider. The 3-month rule is the bare minimum, not the gold standard. It's your financial seatbelt, not your airbag system. 6-month rule. The 6-month rule is where most Americans should actually be aiming, and it covers the largest group of people. You need 6 months if you're married with dependents, if you're a single-income household, if you've got a mortgage or major debt obligations, or if you work in a volatile industry. Any combination of these factors qualifies you for the 6-month club. Let's break down a realistic scenario. You're married with 1 child. Your household's monthly mandatory spending, mortgage, utilities, groceries, car payments, insurance premiums, school fees comes to $5,000. Multiply that by 6 months and you're looking at a $30,000 emergency fund. That's not pocket change, but here's why it matters. If you lose your job, the average job search in America takes between 4 and 6 months, and that's assuming the economy is stable and you're in a decent market. Here's another example. Your household earns $90,000 annually, but you've got a mortgage payment of $1,800, insurance at $350, groceries at $600, 2 car payments totaling $700, utilities at $250, and children's expenses at $500. That's $4,200 monthly. 6 months means you need $25,200 saved and accessible. Most Americans think that sounds impossible. But when you consider that going into debt costs you 24% interest on credit cards, suddenly saving $25,000 sounds like the bargain of a lifetime. The 6-month rule isn't just about job loss either. Medical emergencies, major home repairs, caring for a sick family member, life has a nasty habit of clustering disasters together. 6 months gives you breathing room to make smart decisions instead of desperate ones. 9 to 12-month rule. Now we enter the territory most people don't even consider. The 9 to 12-month emergency fund. This isn't paranoia. This is reality for anyone who's self-employed, earning commission-based income, working as a freelancer, running a business, or in industries with high job turnover. If your income fluctuates month to month, or if you work in highly specialized fields where finding the next opportunity takes longer, you need a bigger cushion. Let's calculate this for a freelance consultant. Your monthly essential expenses are $6,000. You're supporting a family, you've got a mortgage, and your income last year ranged from $4,000 in slow months to $15,000 in peak months. For a 9-month emergency fund, you're looking at $54,000. For 12 months, it's $72,000. Yes, those numbers are massive, but consider this. Freelancers have no unemployment insurance, no severance packages, and no paid sick leave. Your emergency fund isn't just for emergencies, it's your entire safety net. Business owners face even more complexity. If you're running a small business and clients start disappearing, you can't just shut down operations. You've got lease payments, employee salaries, and ongoing costs even with zero revenue. Financial planners recommend business owners maintain both a personal emergency fund of 9 to 12 months and a separate business emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of operating expenses. Here's the brutal truth about variable income. When the economy tanks, commission-based workers and freelancers feel it first and hardest. The 2008 financial crisis saw freelancers and self-employed individuals struggle for 18 months or longer to return to pre-crisis income levels. If you're in this category and you only have 3 months saved, you're gambling with your family's future. What counts as expenses? Here's where most people miscalculate their emergency fund and set themselves up for failure. When we talk about monthly expenses for your emergency fund, we're talking about mandatory expenses only, not your entire lifestyle. Mandatory expenses include your rent or mortgage payment, groceries and basic household supplies, utilities like electricity, water and heat, insurance premiums for health, auto and home, minimum debt payments on student loans and credit cards, transportation costs to get to work, childcare or school fees if you have kids, and any prescriptions or essential medical costs. What doesn't count? Dining out at restaurants, your Netflix and Spotify subscriptions, gym memberships, entertainment and hobbies, vacation savings, and definitely not that daily $6 latte habit. If you lost your job tomorrow, you'd cancel those subscriptions immediately. They don't belong in your emergency fund calculation. Here's a practical example. Your actual monthly spending is $5,500. But $800 of that is restaurants and takeout. $200 is entertainment subscriptions, $150 is your gym membership, and $350 goes to hobbies and shopping. Strip those out and your mandatory expenses drop to $4,000. That's the number you multiply by 3, 6, or 9 months. Using your full spending number inflates your target unnecessarily and makes the goal feel impossible. One critical inclusion people forget: if you have contracts you can't break, like a car lease or a phone installment plan, Those count as mandatory, even if they feel discretionary. You're legally obligated to pay them, so they go in the calculation. Where to keep it? Knowing how much you need is only half the battle. Where you park that money determines whether it's actually there when you need it. And here's where most Americans are making a costly mistake. They're either keeping everything in a checking account, earning zero interest, or they're investing their emergency fund in the stock market where it could drop 30% right when they need it most. The smart approach is what financial planners call the 30-30-40 allocation strategy. Here's how it breaks down. Keep 30% in a regular savings account or high-yield savings account for instant access. Keep another 30% in short-term certificates of deposit or money market accounts that you can access within 1 to 3 days, and put the remaining 40% in liquid mutual funds or ultra-short duration funds that you can access within 1 business day and that typically earn 6% to 7% annual returns. Let's apply this to a real emergency fund. Say your target is $30,000. You'd keep $9,000 in a high-yield savings account earning around 4.5% to 5% APY. That's your "oh crap, I need cash today" money. Another $9,000 goes into a money market account or short-term fixed deposit where you'll earn slightly more but need to wait a day or two for access. The final $12,000 sits in liquid mutual funds, earning that 6% to 7% return. These funds invest in very short-term, low-risk bonds, and most platforms will let you redeem and have cash in your account within 24 hours. The beauty of this allocation is you're not sacrificing all returns for liquidity. Yes, a traditional savings account might only pay 0.5% at big banks, which means inflation is eroding your purchasing power by 2% to 3% per year. But with the 30-30-40 approach, your blended return might be 5% to 6%, which keeps pace with or beats inflation while maintaining accessibility. What should you absolutely avoid? Never, and I mean never, keep your emergency fund in the stock market. Stocks can drop 30%, 40%, even 50% during recessions, and that's exactly when you're most likely to need your emergency fund, because job losses and economic crises go hand in hand. Also, avoid locking everything in long-term certificates of deposit or retirement accounts where early withdrawal triggers penalties and taxes. Common mistakes. Let's talk about the 4 massive mistakes people make with emergency funds that can sabotage your entire financial plan. Mistake number 1. Keeping 100% of your emergency fund in a regular savings account earning 0.5% interest. With inflation running at 3% to 4%, you're losing 2.5% to 3.5% of purchasing power every single year. On a $30,000 emergency fund, that's $750 to $1,050 in lost value annually. Over 5 years, inflation has effectively stolen $3,750 to $5,250 from you. Mistake number 2. Investing your emergency fund in stocks, crypto, or other volatile assets. This is gambling with your safety net. During the 2008 financial crisis, the stock market dropped 50% at the exact moment when millions of Americans lost their jobs and needed their emergency funds most. If your $30,000 fund was in stocks, it suddenly became $15,000 right when you needed every penny. Mistake number 3. Not having a separate account for your emergency fund. When your emergency money sits in the same checking account you use for daily spending, it's way too tempting to dip into it for non-emergencies. That $3,000 sitting there starts looking like a vacation fund or a shopping spree fund. Create a separate high-yield savings account, name it Do Not Touch, Emergency Only, and forget it exists until you actually need it. Mistake number 4. Never recalculating as your life changes. If your expenses increase, maybe you move to a more expensive apartment, or you have a baby, or you take on a car payment, your emergency fund needs to grow proportionally. Review your emergency fund target every 6 months and adjust. How to build it. If you're starting from absolute zero, the goal can feel overwhelming. Let's say you need a 6-month emergency fund and your mandatory monthly expenses are $4,000. That's a $24,000 target. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, that number feels impossible. But here's the secret. You build it in stages and you automate everything. Stage 1, aim for $1,000 first. If you can save $250 per month, you'll hit $1,000 in 4 months. If you can only manage $100 per month, you'll get there in 10 months. The key is starting and celebrating that first milestone. $1,000 covers a surprising number of emergencies: a car repair, a surprise medical bill, an emergency flight home. Stage 2, build to 1 month of expenses. If your monthly mandatory expenses are $4,000, this is your next target. At $500 per month savings, you'll reach $4,000 in 8 months. Now you can survive a full month without income. Stage 3, expand to 3 months. You're now targeting $12,000. If you're saving $500 monthly, this takes 2 years total from zero. That might sound long, but it's faster than most people think. Stage 4, reach your full 6-month goal of $24,000. At $500 monthly savings, you're looking at 4 years total. But here's what people forget. Along the way, you're getting raises, bonuses, tax refunds. Funnel half of every windfall into your emergency fund, and you'll cut that timeline dramatically. The absolute most important tactic is automation. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your emergency fund savings account on the day after your paycheck hits. If you earn $3,500 monthly, set up an automatic $300 transfer. You'll learn to live on the remaining $3,200, and you'll never miss what you don't see. This is called paying yourself first, and it's the only way most people successfully build emergency funds. Celebrate every milestone. Hit $1,000. Treat yourself to a nice dinner. Reach 1 month of expenses. Take a day trip. These small rewards keep you motivated for the long haul. The ratio mindset. Here's the mindset shift that separates people who build lasting financial security from those who constantly struggle. Start thinking in ratios, not dollar amounts. Your emergency fund ratio. Remember, that's your liquid assets divided by monthly mandatory expenses, should be reviewed every 3 months. As your expenses increase, your fund must grow proportionally. If your monthly expenses jump from $3,000 to $3,500 because you moved or had a kid and you're targeting 6 months, your fund needs to increase from $18,000 to $21,000. But here's the beautiful part. Once you hit your target ratio, whether that's 3.0, 6.0, or 9.0, you can redirect your automatic savings to other goals. That $500 per month that was building your emergency fund can now flow into retirement accounts, investment portfolios, or saving for a down payment on a house. Your emergency fund is insurance, not an investment. You're not trying to get rich off this money. You're buying peace of mind and financial stability. The goal isn't maximum returns. It's maximum security with reasonable returns to offset inflation. As your career progresses and your income grows, maintaining your ratio becomes easier. If you get a $10,000 raise, your monthly income jumps by $833. If your expenses only increase by $200, you now have an extra $633 per month. Use half to boost your lifestyle and funnel half into maintaining and growing your emergency fund ratio. Action steps. Let's turn everything you've learned into immediate action. Right now, today, here's what you need to do. Step 1. Calculate your monthly mandatory expenses. Pull up your last 3 months of bank statements and add up everything that's truly mandatory. Rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, debt payments, transportation. Be honest and exclude the discretionary stuff. Step 2. Determine your 369 category. Are you single with stable income? That's 3 months. Married with kids or single income? 6 months. Self-employed or irregular income? 9 to 12 months. Step 3. Open a separate high-yield savings account today. Don't wait. Go to an online bank offering 4% to 5% APY. Open an account and transfer whatever you can right now, even if it's just $50. Step 4. Set up automatic weekly or monthly deposits. Even $25 per week is $1,300 per year. Start somewhere, start now, and let automation do the heavy lifting. Financial peace isn't about being rich. It's not about driving a luxury car or living in a mansion. Financial peace is knowing with absolute certainty that you can survive the next crisis without drowning in debt, without panic, without desperation. It's sleeping soundly knowing that if your car breaks down tomorrow, if you lose your job next month, if a medical emergency hits next year, you'll be okay. That's what an emergency fund gives you. That's what the 3-6-9 rule protects. So here's my final question for you. What's your emergency fund ratio right now? Calculate it, share it in the comments, and let me know whether you're targeting 3, 6, or 9 months. If this video helped you understand emergency funds in a way you never have before, smash that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown on building real wealth. Your future self will thank you for starting today.